Coming to corporate India, as per research, employers hire from the LGBTQIA plus community predominantly in non-technical roles, okay? And in domains like customer service, hospitality, sales, and supply chain. The study further found that large number of hirings from the community happen only at entry-level or mid-level jobs. Do you feel in 2022, standing in 2022 on the brink of 2023, there is still some level of discrimination that people from the community face in the corporate space in India? And if so, do you think that?
So, like what we discussed right now, there is a long entrenched, social and systemic forces that are so rooted in our culture and so rooted in our very being that it's not easy for it to disappear. And having said that, when you look at when you have diversity and inclusion teams, they're not going to be successful. It's like the saying goes, you can't preach what you don't practice.
Correct.
So for that to happen, you need to start practicing you have to start practicing it. And so the first step in the whole thing is intent. And what is your purpose? Are you really determined and serious about inclusion? Because this is not an activity. This is not a tick box. This is not tokenism. So you have to be serious about it. So intent is the first step. Second question is commitment, because you cannot have a piecemeal approach to inclusion. So that you can have a policy, you can have an excellent policy, you can on paper, but what about culture? You can have excellent social media, you can participate in pride marches, but are you really serious on the ground? Because for it to permeate, it has to go through all layers of the organization, right from the security guard,
Correct.
CEO, or the board members. The third one is obviously fact checking. What are your internal biases? What of your peers? What of your your company per se? What is the language used? And that's why I brought your attention to the whole people-centered language. Are you using the them and us approach kind of a thing?
Yeah.
Are you able to cross-check what kind of language is accepted? And so, for instance, just a simple example: in any meeting in a company that claims to be inclusive, if somebody starts the meeting with, "Hey guys," for me that's over, because for me at that point in time, you're not actually practicing what you preach. If you have to be inclusive, use the word people or use the word folk. So I think that's like a starting point. Then when you talk about the LGBTQIA plus community, we always tend to homogenize the queer community, and we think that it's okay if we have like a one size fit all approach, but we often forget that every company also needs to have an intersectional approach. Then the question comes, what is your stand on discrimination? Do you really have an anti-discrimination policy in place? And if not, then then obviously like what happens, like what you just rightly talked about, the career net survey. I don't think so anything's going to change, because discrimination will continue, and some of it will be unconscious, some of them will be conscious. But then you have to go back and relook at everything you have in place, right from your recruitment strategy to your policy, your culture, the transparency process in recruitment, what kind of investments are you doing in your human resources? If you have a D&I committee, who is there in it? If you have a mental health policy, what is in it? So those kind of things are very important. Then obviously the external approach, not just within your community, with your vendors, with your clients, with your shareholders, what are you communicating? Are you doing post only during the month of Pride, or are you consciously communicating it externally? So those are the things that builds trust in a company. Till such time these activities don't take place, it is very difficult for us to. I mean, it'll always have, and I think I was reading another article which talked about attrition levels as well. So if you don't have this at all levels, it is obviously not going to work. And then I come to role models. Do you have a role model? So when you look at Radhika Piramal, um, who is at the at the top management, senior management level, people obviously want to, will obviously aspire to be her, like her, and they would want, you need a champion for causes, right? So if you don't have a role model, what are you talking about?
Yes.
So it has to be at all levels. You can't just have it at entry level, because then you will just be doing tick box exercise.
Correct.
Then the infrastructure, obviously, what kind of infrastructure do you have in place? If you do go out to participate in a queer fair, uh, it's okay to participate and say, "Oh, I've come up, I've hired like 10 people." But what is the infrastructure in place in your office is important. Infrastructure includes your restroom, includes access to counseling. What is your insurance policy? Do you have that kind of capacity where you train people? What other support systems do you have? Have you like checked, with all your employees, what kind of support systems are there? So those kind of things are small things that make a difference. And then lastly, partnerships. As a corporate organization, what are your partnerships about? Have you been able to successfully meet with different groups of people, build coalitions, build that kind of network?